Okay, so just recapping what we have done basically. So what we have done is run an nmap scan, which I've turned out to showing us an FTP service, which FTP, as I said, is vulnerable on its own. Doesn't matter what version you use. FTP is not used anymore. We use something called SFTP, which is an upgraded and secure version of FTP. So we have went on the internet, we have found an exploit, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run Metasploit, right? Because we also have found out, I'm just making a new terminal. We have found out that also by looking at search exploit, as you can see by looking at this version, we have found out that there we go. We have found out that pro FTPD 133C backdoor command execution Metasploit, right? So if we just close this, or we just put straight away MSF console, what we can do is find this exploit within Metasploit console, right? As I said, what Metasploit is a very, very good, powerful framework. It allows you to do certain stuff, allows you to basically, there's not really a limit to what Metasploit can do. As long as Metasploit has exploits, Metasploit is capable of doing basically anything, right? So we can search our pro FTPD, right? And as you can see, there's what we can actually do. Actually, I'm going to show you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to execute the payload and the exploit and the payload, right? Because these are two things. Exploit is something that we use. Exploit is basically what we're doing, right? So we are exploiting backdoor command execution of pro FTPD. But there's also, if you use 5, actually make this bigger for you guys again. If you type in use 5, right, because I told you this is the ID. So if you use a search and then you look at the IDs and you, for example, identify the exploit you want to use and you just put use 5, it basically what it does, so basically now what we need to do is we have identified, right? So we just press use 5, right, ID 5, and then that's it, right? And then usually what would say is like default payload something, right? And then you just use payload and then it would work. So now what we have is we need to type in, can I clear this? Because I just want to, yeah, okay. So if you do show options, which is a command that allows you to basically look for the required settings right now. As you can see, show options displays the module, which is our exploit. It also tells here what Metasploit version we're using, maybe need an update. You should have Metasploit 6. I don't expect you to have Metasploit 5. That's outdated, right? So make sure you update your system. So you have a name, current setting, required, and description, right? And then you would have a payload, but unfortunately for this, we don't have a payload setting. So we have a C host, the local client address. We don't need this because this is required no. Unless if you have this information, sure, put it on, right? C port, the local client port. We don't need this. Proxies, no, I'm not really interested, right? Because the virtual machine is on my network, so we don't need any proxies. Our hosts, yes, right? So we need to put a target our hosts. Now, what is an our host? Our host stands for remote host, which means that our victim machine, right? And I'm going to show you how to get the IP address in a second. Our port is very, very important because there's the port. Sometimes you might, for example, what I've done on my Raspberry Pi Kali Linux is I've changed the port, not from the default to change the different port, right? So when I SSH to it, I can change the port. Okay, so we have, right, so if you go back to nmap, we make sure that this is the correct port. If you scan a Windows machine, you will have about 10-15 ports, right? So Windows hacking is a bit more tricky because you need to identify the ports and identify the vulnerabilities, right? But there's tools to do that. So we verify that it is port 21 and we go back and make sure it is port 21, right? So port 21, okay, all good. Now, if you have our hosts, right? So what we need is to find the IP address of our machine, right? But we already know our IP address of the machine, so we can just put set our hosts 192.168.80.131. Okay, and that's it. That's how easy it is, right? But you can check this again by using show options. Okay, so now what we need to do is set the payload, right? So what we're gonna use is use payload command Unix reverse. Okay. Oh, what did I use the wrong? Sorry. So say set payload command Unix reverse, right? And what this does, if you just clear the screen, so it's just a little bit messy, less messier. And if you do show options again, you're gonna get another, basically, it's payload settings, right? So payload settings, basically what it does, it gets the connection and it basically sends it back to us, right? So obviously, if it would send the connection back, it would not know where to send it, right? To which device, because maybe we want to send it to another device, right? So what we need to do is set the L host, right? And you need to make sure that this IP address is correct. You can set anything you want for the L port, which means local port, and the L host for local host, right? Just so I clarify what it means actually. L host, you can set it easily if you have it correctly set, right? You can check this by going to a new terminal and typing ifconfig, right? Basically what it says, init, this will be your basically adapter, right? You can also check this by going to the, let me see if see it, guys. Yeah, you can see. Okay, so if you go to the wired connection and you go edit connections, wired connection, go IPv4, you might have an IP address here. I have automatic, right? And I know my IP address is 192.168.88.30, right? This is loopback, this is not your IP address, right? So I might have, right? So if you have an IP address here, I'll tell you. If not, then you just need to use ETH0. You can also, if it doesn't work, you can always change it, right? That's not a big problem, right? Okay. So hope I clarified it. Okay. Let me just, because it's annoying. There we go. Right. Okay. So now we need to do is set L host. Now, if you have looked there carefully, it says ETH0, right? So if you think about it, okay, what happens if I put ETH0? Done. Wham bam bam. See? That's why Metasploit console is